I may not have worked long in life being 25 years old, but in the time that I have worked, I have learned quite a bit on things that you should do and things that you shouldn't do, how to trust people, how not to trust people, who's actually genuine, and who's lying through their teeth. So today I'm going to share with you guys a couple of tips that I've learned throughout my time working in the job force. But before I begin, let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any tips or advice you've learned as you've been working through the workforce. Because, I mean, hey, we all come from different fields and branches and parts of life. So, who knows? Maybe you guys got something else that I might not know of. So, anyway, let's get started. The first tip I can give is to test the waters. What I mean by that is find out quickly if you can trust your workers with certain info. Now, the best way to gauge this is to basically think about some information in your life that you kind of just don't care if it's out there. Like stuff that's like minuscule. It could be just something that you do in your free time or something that you watch and enjoy. Something, again, that you have to kind of weigh. Doesn't bother you if it might be used against you in a teasing manner or as a sort of poke fun at and make fun of kind of manner, if that makes any sense. Just any sort of information that you don't care about that could be used against you, just use it. Because the key thing is to find out is how they react to that information. If it seems like they're coming off sincere and over time, because this will take time, after maybe a couple days or a week or two, see how they treat or handle that information. If they're more modest with that information or they just don't care and they don't use it against you, you're probably good. That's probably a nice way to test the waters. But if they do start using it against you and teasing you with it, at least you gave them information that, you don't really much care about. Or heck, you could even maybe stretch the truth a bit, maybe give a little white lie just to see how they'll react. It's kind of hard. You kind of have to think about it yourself. What would be, some information you wouldn't mind getting out there that could, again, be used against you. So everybody's going to be different, but that's at least how you could, quote unquote, test the water. Number two is don't trust them unless they prove to you otherwise. Because trust is earned, not given. You got to earn people's trust. And a lot of people think that you automatically should just trust them because, I've been working with you X amount of time or I know you X amount of time. That's not how it works. You got to earn trust. And how do you earn trust? It's the little stuff, in my opinion, in my experience. It's the little stuff. You got to see how certain things happen and how they play out. Or again, going back to the testing the waters, trusting them with certain information to see how they react. But it's just maybe even put into situations with the two of you or with your other coworkers even. Just see how you complete the task and if everybody is not only up to snuff, but they get their stuff done and you don't have to pick up the slack. Or, you tell them if they could do something and they just do it right away, no questions asked. Again, kind of depends on the situation, but you have to earn that trust. That is the key thing. Don't automatically assume you can just trust someone on the first day or two or even the first week. You got to see how they act and how they conduct themselves on certain tasks or jobs. So it's the best way I can give out when it comes to trust. And then if they do earn your trust, then hey, we're all good and everything kind of just works out nicely and you can continue going forward. But again, always assume that trust is earned and not given because trust can easily be lost, but it's a lot harder to give. But always forget that and never forget it. Because the next tip I want to give to tie this in is never let your guard down. Even after you've trusted people for a bit, I want to say maybe 2-3 months, still don't let your guard down. Because a lot can happen in those months. And even then, even we can even throw in another timetable of a year. But you can kind of start easing back in your guard over time. But those first 2-3 months, don't let your guard down. Even if things are cool and fine, wait to see how the bad moments, the bad days at work go and play out. Because then you get to see, people's true colors, how they react under pressure and given a task or vice versa. Just don't ever let your guard down because you just never know. You never know with your coworkers, especially if you don't hang out with them outside of, the workforce. Because if you hang out with them outside and you guys are getting along and clicking very nicely, then there's no problem. There's not really much issues or anything, maybe. It kind of all depends on the person you're talking to. But if you're clicking with them and you're not running into any issues outside of work, then there's no harm, no foul. And you can maybe let your guard down just a bit more as you get to know this person outside of work and vice versa. But if you only work with them exclusively, then you definitely want to keep your guard up a bit longer because you just don't know. You don't know what they could do 2-3 months from the time you start, or even a year. Now that could vary. Again, all this varies, but at least it's a lot more easier to let your guard down a bit if you get to know the person outside of work and you hang out with them. Now, obviously, don't assume every one of your coworkers is a good idea to do this and is willing to. You got to kind of, it's kind of like dating in a sense, maybe, but just different, different picture altogether. You got to see if you guys vibe or mesh and if you actually want to hang out with this person after hours. Like if, you get along with each other competently, but they have a sort of rambunctious, crazy, adventurous, no shit nonsense lifestyle and you don't want to participate in it, probably shouldn't. Don't force yourself into that. Still want to kind of take a step back and not go do things that you don't feel comfortable with or that, vibe or mesh with you. Because we're all different. We're all human. But we all have different things that we enjoy and like to do. And don't try to force things if they really aren't going to work out. But the last tip that I want to give is put in the effort if deserved. Now, I know a lot of companies and corporations out there, they don't deserve your full-on effort. If they don't value you, but they, need you in a work sense, just put the bare minimum. Don't break your back or worry about company loyalty, because it goes back to the don't trust unless proven otherwise tip. Because if they do value you and they do respect you and they, want to see you grow and succeed, then gauge it a bit. See how it goes, again, testing the waters, but gauge to see how it continues further. And it takes time to build trust and to really want to put your all in effort into a company 100%. Because again, these companies do exist out there. It's just they're a lot harder to find in the sea of shit that we have to deal with these days, especially as Gen Zers. But they're out there. You can find them. And if you do, gauge it to see how well they respect and treat you. See how they treat you every day. Do they include you? Do they maybe, once again, invite you maybe to do things outside of work? Or maybe your employer, your boss seems a lot more, modest, maybe gives you feedback, but doesn't, belittle you or treat you like a child when presenting that feedback. It gets a little bit more complicated if they do respect you and care about you or show that they want you to be successful and succeed and grow in the company. It's a lot harder to gauge it than instead, they don't value you. They just expect you to show up, do the work, and then go home. Then yeah, put in the bare minimum effort. Don't give them the time of day. You're there to do a job. A job is a job. But, maybe a little other piece of advice. Maybe you might want to find another job soon or start looking around if it's going that route. Because, yeah, they'll never respect you if you have to keep putting the bare minimum in. Because, they expect you to do more, yet they don't treat you nice enough to want to keep you or actually value you as a human being. So, like I said, in that scenario, bare minimum. But again, you have to gauge it around if they actually do value and care about you. Because then, you want to actually put in that effort because that could be a good employer you could stick with. An employer that's willing to help you grow and improve as a human being and be successful in life. But again, it all depends. At the end of the day, with all these tips I've given, it's up to you. And it's up to your kind of know-how to see how the job is treating you, how the work is, and all that. But these tips might help you. Just to kind of sit back and think a bit. Maybe take an afternoon to write down some things. Piece things all together and see, does my employer actually care about me? And they actually want to see me be successful? Or do they just want you to show up and do work and that's it? Can you trust them? Do you see if you can actually call them friends outside of work? Can you maybe let your guard down a bit? I don't know. It just all depends. So I think that's all I have today in this video. Once again, if you guys have any other advice, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Because I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff that I haven't thought about that you guys might know. Because everybody, like I said at the beginning of this video, everybody comes from different backgrounds and experiences. So there's also other kinds of advice out there. So anyway, I think that's all I have to say in this video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to know when I post a video. Also share the video around, see if we can get back into the algorithm a bit more and more, because as of recording, I am at 341 subscribers, and we are still on the road to 500, so hopefully we can hit that number as soon as possible, get one step closer to being monetized, so we'll just keep going on further. So anyway, I'll see you guys with another video. Y'all take care and have a good rest of your Thursday.